Welcome back. The program is the Afia Morning Show live from Enugu in Southeast Nigeria. And my name is Nathalie Upu. Now we head on to our discussions this morning. Human capital development is one of the key issues the Enugu State Education Transformation Plan aims to address. Now, the improvement of the staff is to transcend to knowledge delivery to the pupils or students, depending on their various levels. Now, the plan integrates quality education with the need to catalyze workforce development, the overall vision being to develop an educated and skilled workforce capable of catapulting Enugu State's GDP from $4.4 billion to $30 billion. Now, joining us to talk about this and break it down, because lots of technical things involved, is none other than the Commissioner for Education in Enugu State, Professor Ndubueze Mbah. Prof, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Welcome. Thank you.
So you've obviously brought a lot of kids for us. It's a very serious plan, the transformation plan. So let's begin with breaking it down. A lot of heavy words there. The Enugu State Education Transformation Plan. Help us understand what this all consists.
So this is the effort of the Enugu State Ministry of Education to put into words the vision and plan of His Excellency, Dr. Peter Ndubueze Mbah, for Enugu State. The governor's statement of purpose, if we recall, and everything he's done is been consistent with that, is kind of our reference point, a sort of biblical reference point for everything we're doing. He makes it very clear that, you know, in the areas of economic development, you have the productivity sector, like agriculture, agro-industrialization. They have an area of a sector of governance, right? But there are some institutions or some sectors that he describes as cross-cutting institutions. Education and health are sitting there. Why health? If you're going to have a workforce, they have to be alive and healthy, right? If you're going to an education, if you're going to have a workforce or have industrialization, you need an educated and skilled workforce. That's why health and education are sitting as cross-cutting institutions. And that is why, and this is also reflected in His Excellency's budget for Enugu State government budget. Education and health are sitting not as social service delivery, in the way it is traditionally conceived, but actually as catalysts, something that makes other things happen. That is one logic for that budget. Not only 33% of the state budget dedicated to education in the 2024 budget, but also again in the 2025 budget. And the same thing in health. Combined, they take up more than 50% of the state budget. So I just wanted to remind Enugu why this investment is not to build beautiful schools. It's not about building beautiful schools, but it's about providing conducive learning environments where the types of intervention that will produce that skilled workforce can begin to happen. And those interventions, they begin with just simple things, the foundations, numeracy and literacy, and then they go on to higher competencies, right? So that is the vision for the plan, and that all the Ministry of Education has tried to do in consultation with His Excellency and under his directive and watch is to try to put this down on paper for anybody to access. And His Excellency has directed that this should be made available to everybody, whether they're from within Enugu State or from outside. Because what Enugu State is doing, as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has said, as his wife has said, as all our senators have said, all our House of Rep people, the 43 UN diplomats that came to Enugu, everybody keeps saying the same thing, that what the governor is doing in Enugu State is not just a model for Enugu or Nigeria, but is a model for the region, for sub-Saharan Africa. And World Bank, UNESCO, UNICEF have endorsed this as the way to go. And I just came back from Abuja last week, where we had the Nigerian Governors Forum and the States Committee of State Commissioners for Education with World Bank, FCDO, British Council, UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission, and we were sharing best practices. And the affirmation and reaffirmation keeps coming back to this, that this is the ideal. It's the question of who has the political will and the dedication to actually achieve it. And so the audacity of the governor's vision is what is dumbfounding. And we've just tried to explain that as clearly as possible in this document.
We have known Dr. Peter Mbah, the governor of Enugu State, making ambitious moves. He does that, and you keep asking the question, sir, how would you achieve this thing? But you see him, these plans being laid out, working out, right? But I want to ask you this question. What actually inspired the whole educational system overhaul in Enugu State? What inspired that?
My conviction from day one, the first meeting I had with the governor, I got a call out of the blue and I came to see him. And he was telling me his plan for Enugu State. And he said he cannot achieve this without changing the education system. That was the first conversation we had. So when I reflect back to that moment and you're asking me this question, it's because if you want to build, if you want to move from a buyer economy, a consuming economy, to a producing, manufacturing, innovation, inventive, you need to build up the people who are going to do that work. Because even if you bring in all the investment capital, are they also going to come with all the laborers from India, from Malaysia, from China to come and do the work? At what point does it stop making economic sense for investors? So you need to build up your skilled workforce. And for prosperity to be inclusive, to be deep, to be sustainable, it has to be owned by the people. It has to be rooted, right? And so that is my understanding for why investment in education. And then you have this huge economic agenda, visionary, beautiful, but you don't have the people to help you achieve it. And you look at the system in place and it's failing you. You have children who finish primary school and they cannot read or write. Parents who now save money to pay for examination malpractice instead of celebrating the dignity and excellence of educational achievement of their children. You have a failing system, the accountability, the morality, the ethics. You have crumbling infrastructure. And he did a baseline assessment in 2023 and it was obvious that we had a learning crisis. You have graduates who are looking for work and they can't find work. And then all they can think of is to japa or to eventually get into opportunity crime because people have to survive, right? So, and your greatest asset are young people. So how do you equip your young people and work with them to achieve the vision? So these are the realities, and Enugu State people know this. In my own village, I know what my community school looked like, right? We all see it, even in the urban environment. So how do you get from point A to point B if you don't build a pathway for yourself?
That's right. Okay, let's go on a quick break now. In the morning show returns, we'll look at the implementation side of this. I would like Enugu to know what exactly has been implemented in the transformation plan for a better grip of all we are discussing here. The morning show returns in just seconds. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show live from Enugu, and we're still here with the Honourable Commissioner for Education, Enugu State, Professor Ndubueze Mbah, discussing the Enugu State Education Transformation Plan. Professor Mbah, could you walk us through specifically the implementation of this plan? What has been accomplished so far in the state? Give us something that we can actually see.
Yeah, thank you. So the plan, as we contain here, there are 3 phases of it. The first phase is the basic schools, which are the smart green schools that caters for basic education all the way to JSS 3. We've had our pilot model at Owo, and that is where we worked out the kinks of the system and figured it out. And now 260, in fact it's more than that actually, but that is the official number, it's 260, are being constructed across Enugu State. About 100 are ready, like in terms of infrastructure, roofing, and the rest are at various advanced stages. So we all know this, so we can all see them in our communities. We are working towards, come September 15, getting those schools equipped and ready and onboarding 260,000 children of Enugu State, who will be serviced by 13,000 teachers. And that is why we have been intensifying our teacher professional development programs. On Monday, the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria will come to Enugu and flag off the National Teacher Career Path Policy. Enugu State will be the first state in Nigeria to implement this policy.
That's impressive.
This is a policy that actually assesses every public school teacher by the professional standards in Nigeria, by the only body accredited to do so and set up by law to do so, the TROCN. And every teacher will be assessed on multiple competencies and then be placed in a 4-tier cadre: beginner proficiency, beginner teacher, proficient teacher, mentor teacher, and distinguished teachers. And this is the professional standard. And every year, they meet professional development milestones and they're able to progress. So this also ensures that we have a comprehensive Enugu State Teachers Registry, where you can go and find any public school teacher, all their information, all their training, all their professional qualification, programs that they undergo. We are really trying to professionalize teaching. We cannot invest billions of naira building smart schools and then we put unqualified and untrained.
How are the teachers receiving this part of the plan?
They are excited. That's the information I'm getting from ESUET, PPSMB, and STVSMB, our education boards. There's also nervousness. A lot of teachers are nervous, and we're, part of that nerve is feeling unprepared. So we've also been, digital literacy training has been ongoing. We did the general, now the local government is going, and then to make it even more accessible, we've worked with our partners in New York to design a free online digital literacy training, specifically designed for Enugu State, all teachers, whether they're private or public, because we want everybody to get them. So that is the first thing, and we already know what is in our smart schools and what they're supposed to accomplish. The second phase is two-pronged. When our children complete basic education, they can go to the, TVET colleges. Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu came and commissioned the first pilot. You see, everything we do is we are ahead. It's just the truth. Enugu State is ahead of the country. So when these policies come, we find ourselves having to pilot them. The TVET policy, Technical Vocational Education and Training Colleges policy, was passed between late last year and early this year. It has not been implemented. Peter Mbah is trying to implement it, working directly with the Federal Ministry of Education and NAPTEP. And the new GTC is the first school in Nigeria to make that new TVET policy real. The same way the smart school program, was an idea UBEC had, and they started one project in every state. For 2 years, they couldn't get it, and then we did one. Peter Mbah came and did the one for the Enugu State. So the same thing. So after basic education, they can go to these TVET colleges, or they can go to senior secondary schools, which are just 3 years. Both are 3-year programs. So the Smart Senior Secondary School, the pilot is also being completed at Owo. So we're going to have all our 3 pilots. And then in the next year, we're going to start building out the remaining 7 TVET colleges and the remaining 16 smart senior secondary schools. So those are stage 2. Stage 3 is Peter Mbah's plan to not only strengthen tertiary institutions, but expand them. And that is why he passed the experiential learning policy in ESUET. He announced it last year, and they have started implementing, and he's announced 2 new universities.
Yes, it's great that you mentioned the 2 new universities, ESUET and ESUAT.
Yeah.
But we also have ESUET.
Yes.
Lots of people are saying that they feel the funds should be channeled towards revitalizing the Enugu State University of Science and Technology, as opposed to starting out 2 new state universities. How would you respond?
So, it's difficult to have a university that does everything perfectly well. There's no university in the world that usually have your area of strength and specialization. ESUET is, when it comes to medicine, engineering, those physical sciences and industrial sciences and mining science, and that is our ESUET, and we're proud of that. And now they've, and the Vice Chancellor is also audacious and working very hard, and so we'll have the biggest pharmacy faculty as well. But a University of Education and Technology is just logical. when you are building an entire new ecosystem of education and you want that to drive your economy, and you want a university dedicating research, training, innovation to education, where you can bring the best minds around the world, drive the best minds from within, concentrate resources in that place, and support teacher professional development. It is always interesting to us that teachers are now seen as bottom feeders. When I was growing up, teachers, my parents were teachers, teachers were revered. Teaching was a revered profession. How could you say that the entry requirement, JAMB entry requirement for teacher training is 100 and for medicine is 300, when the teacher is supposed to train the medical person? So what the governor is trying to do is to change, really reposition our understanding of education and dedicate resources to teacher professional development, to education, to all of that. Right. And then the Enugu State Education of University of Agriculture and Technology is dedicated to agriculture and agro-industrialization.
So then what do the two new universities mean for the existing ESUET? What kind of rehabilitation would ESUET be expected in all of this? So
ESUET, SUMAS, IMT, I expected and are being supported to strengthen their programs. You know that IMT is a polytechnic, right? So its focus is not on research per se, as opposed to vocational scale, right? At a higher level. ESUET and SUMAS are being supported to achieve. SUMAS has a whole lot of space gap to fill, right? Its amenities have to be fully provided, programs are accredited, become fully functional as a state university of medical science, and its university hospital has to be operated. So there is space for them within their areas to, and that is the area of investment and concentration, and each of them are also setting up their own centers for experiential learning.
What does the state government think about open universities?
Open universities, reframe, explain.
Open universities, we have now in Enugu, open universities, basically where students of universities can attend school from wherever they are. It's basically open because you don't have to be there in your faculty.
Oh, okay. You mean the
like so, now? Yeah. What is, because the state government is emphasizing a lot about the physical structures. I hope you're not trying to think of your answer to this.
No, I'm trying to understand what you mean by open university. So you're talking about online education.
Open universities. Are you aware of the Nigerian Open University of Nigeria, the Enugu State? I know it's already most of the
inmates that there are open universities. Open universities are fine, but they are not a substitute or replacement for land grant universities, right? I mean, globally, they are still the best. And nothing stops land grant universities from having online, offering their subjects online. Most land grant universities do that, but they remain land grant because research is where the rubber hits the road. Institution, and these are also, that educational institutions are also catalysts for innovation, economic development. So our physical presence and all of that, campus residence for our youth, there's a whole lot that, if people are in places and in climes where they can just work and then at night they do this, but that's not our reality. We do not have the digital infrastructure network to rely like 90% on open university.
So the National Open University of Nigeria has been functioning for years, the National Open University of Nigeria, and despite the digital shortcomings, it has continued to thrive. Do you believe that it is not yet time for perhaps states to start to invest in those because of the digital shortcomings?
We've always encouraged our universities to invest in online, tuition and distance learning. And His Excellency has always emphasized that one of the things that he's excited about the smart schools is that Nigerians, wherever they are in the world, can actually benefit from online tuition from the smart schools because they've been equipped to do so. ESUET, about 8 years ago, invested in online tuition, right? And that program struggled, and now they're trying to bring it back. So in many ways, but when you think about again, I want to be clear. It's fine. It's good. We encourage it, but it is not a substitute.
So what
it can be complementary to the land grant university system. So let's talk about research. Let's talk about, applied learning, right? So you need laboratories. Scientists still need spaces to work. I mean, so we're talking about universities of science and technology. They still need to, students still have to be trained physically in physical space. They still have to perform, surgery. They still have to learn all of their professional practice. We know that now through AI and virtual reality, we have, virtual welding and fabrication and all of that. But when you finish that, you still have to work with real materials in a controlled environment, monitor, train, and all of that.
Sorry, Oji, is Open University a part of the education transformation plan? So,
the Open University is not a nomenclature that we have adopted or used. I know you keep using it, and in my response I keep saying online tuition, hybrid, digital. We are not, as far as I know, the Enugu State government or the Enugu State Ministry of Education has not adopted an open university model or nomenclature, but we are encouraging online distance learning and tuition from the physical infrastructure and resources of our institutions.
Is Open University considered a smart university?
Well, you have to define what you mean by Open University.
What does smart university mean?
So our smart universities are universities where we are, as we define them in Enugu State, where we are implementing experiential learning, leveraging all resources, both material, online, digital, distant, right, resources, and in turn offering tuition, that's teaching and learning, physically, online, digitally, in hybrid ways.
Doesn't an Open University offer all of those?
It is possible that they do, but you have to define it.
Okay, there's a model, right, that come attention, the case spell, right?
Yes.
As it replaces the traditional exams with capstone and projects. But how would these address parents' concerns about preparing their words for maybe WAEC or JAM?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. So experiential learning can be thought of in different ways. At basic, it means that you're learning through practice, right? So that, foreign concepts, new ideas, theories, that you're not just cramming and memorizing them, but that you actually observe them, maybe in 3D, or through simulation, observe them in nature or in real life, or use that or your understanding of that concept to solve a problem. So it's just a learning process that ensures deep understanding of the concept and applying it, developing the skills to apply it to solve a problem. So what it means then is that our children will be better prepared for those external examinations because they have learned them in ways that are deep, that are real, right? We are still teaching the national curriculum. What we've done, we've augmented it in places where there are gaps. For future learning, right? The future of work. We're talking about those skills like robotics, mechatronics, AI, right? And to your question, Adley, about open universities and digital, AI is a technology that education institutions in Enugu State have fully embraced, right? And so that has also shaped the type of international partnerships that we're having. One of our most important partners for the state when it comes to education is the State University of New York at Buffalo, and that is America's leading AI institute.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about other concerns while we wrap this up, because we're already out of time. We have barely 2 minutes on our clock. Now, a lot of concerns have been raised following some of the integrity tests gone wrong for some, at least few smart schools. Now, this is a divided one because some people believe that the error margin definitely when you're doing 260 smart schools would definitely be there, and you cannot generalize because of what happened to 3 smart schools. But there are also people that are starting to get afraid, wondering about the structure, the contractors and the rest. Would you like to speak about the incidents at some of the smart schools?
Yes, so the 2 that we documented and followed up closely, the first one that collapsed, failed, the state monitoring team had been warning about that project. The contractor had been called to meetings several times. He's been told to, that there are some failings and that he should, at some point he was told to stop work and to do remediation. Ministry of Works was following up on him, and he wasn't listening. And so now that when the building then started, failing, the state government pulled it down and then held him liable.
Which is this one?
That's the first one in ESUAT.
In ESUAT.
Yes, right. So now the one in Oji River in Aceh, the staircase, the staircase, the one at the main entrance, the contractor noticed that it was failing. The iron bender had not locked the rods at the top of the stairs. And so he instructed his workers to loosen the blocks holding it up so that they can redo that. Apparently, instead of doing it the way he said, that he wasn't there to supervise, they took a mallet and they were knocking it from the bottom. And so he pulled, right? And of course, it was a very emotional experience for the young people in the community who could see smart green schools going on successfully in their neighbors' communities, and theirs are failing. They are youth that I respect so much because they've invested so much of their own time and resources in ensuring that that construction project was going on. They have actually taken ownership of that. I mean, it's one place I know that everything we put in that smart school will be safe because they are not joking around. So those are situations like that. And we tell our contractor you have to have proper supervision and all of that. So it's the chain management system. Right. But the state government has also ensured that these integrity tests are done openly, and the results are available, and there's accountability in the process. Now
we're already out of time at this point in time, no pun intended. Come September, the smart schools are supposed to open up for business, for students, and for the smart teachers. How many of the smart schools are going to be open? Would all 260 of them be open?
We are working towards having all of it.
You think it's feasible?
I think it's feasible because we're all working on it.
All 260, because the contractors seem to be breaking a sweat.
They have to break a sweat. I break a sweat every day.
All right. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining the show today, Professor Mbah. I'll continue to monitor this, and I'm sure that you will be there to monitor the flag of come September. Absolutely. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
The morning show returns in just seconds as we bring you updates on the concerns and calls to action from the people living with disabilities in Enugu State, what they really need from the state government. The program returns in just seconds. Stay tuned.